point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works. Greed clarifies, cuts through, and captures the essence of the evolutionary spirit. Greed in all of its forms. Greed for life, for money, for love, knowledge, has marked the upward surge of mankind, and greed, you mark my words, will not only save Teldar Paper, but that other malfunctioning corporation called the USA. Thank you very much.
The Gulf of Mexico, 66 kilometers off the shore of Louisiana. The Deepwater Horizon drilling rig.
This is an oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, and it's now, have you heard, worse than anyone thought.
The cause of the April 20th oil rig explosion. The explosion, of course, that killed 11 workers and then spilled more than 3 million gallons of crude oil into the Gulf of Mexico so far.
86 days, crude oil pumped directly into the Gulf of Mexico. An estimated 5 million barrels escaped.
Believe what began as an industrial accident hundreds of miles away could have such an impact on us. The crude crisis began on the evening of April 20th, 2010.
On shore, it's been a slow-motion disaster, and only this past week have the first waves of oil hit the mainland. With all their... It was heartbreaking. It just shows what can happen when companies put profits before common sense and decency.
The catastrophe unfolding in the Gulf right now may prove to be a result of human error, or of corporations taking dangerous shortcuts to compromise safety.
The companies involved in the BP oil spill chose money over safety. This according to a White House report investigating BP's oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. The report says last year's disaster was a result of cost-cutting measures by BP, Halliburton, Transocean and government officers dealing with the oil well.
We will make BP pay for the damage their company has caused. And we will do whatever is necessary to help the Gulf Coast and its people recover from this tragedy.
And this afternoon, the Sierra Club says that civil lawsuits should result in penalties topping $60 billion, which it says better reflects the harm the BP inflicted.
Well, it did a tremendous amount of damage. I mean, BP used to be one of the 100 top brands in the world, and it was in that position for 11 years. It lost that ranking after this disaster.
Even before the disaster, the social and environmental image of BP was an important corporate asset. For several years, the company was displaying the greater environmental awareness. The company's image was considered as the most environmentally friendly in the industry. BP has been granted many times for its proactive and credible corporate social responsibility, and was among pioneer companies that started to publish an annual sustainability reports. At the same time, the BP's sustainability has also a dark side. The corporation was familiar with disasters and scandals and has a long history of safety negligence. The Corporate Social Responsibility Report was considered by experts as a purely greenwashing and was widely criticized. BP was many times cited as the worst or among the worst companies for its environmental and social impacts. Despite the company's best effort to control the information, facts start coming out. The hidden side of BP's safety and environmental governance leaked to the public, mainly because of the whistleblowers. Employees and managers that were tied up with the corporation did not afraid to go against it and tell the truth.
They're over budget on it. So yeah, they were cutting corners for time and money.
BP also lied about the amount of oil it discharged into the Gulf is already established. That was the last drop and the public went furious over the corporation. Deepwater tragedy was not BP's first significant oil spill. However, there had never been one in Deepwater. In fact, none of oil companies were prepared and did not have any backup plan for a catastrophic failure. Today, the main question remains: did BP and other oil companies learn the lesson of Deepwater Horizon? Many industrial experts see a positive progress and improvements. 6 years later, after the Gulf disaster, oil industry is better prepared to prevent and recover from a similar oil spills. Watchdogs inside and outside of the government are paying closer attention to the environment than ever before. BP, Chevron, Shell and other oil giants that involved into offshore drilling rigs have similar advanced policies in protecting the environment. The bonuses of executives are tied in part to safety and sustainability. The amount of oil spilled has tended downward even as production has increased. Companies are wildly adopting environmental management system and standards as part of their corporate social responsibility. Meanwhile, there is also alarming evidence that companies continue to push the limits of technology and take risks. Business is back in the Gulf of Mexico with an increasing part of drilling in deep waters. Shell is running almost identical rig to the Deepwater Horizon. Similar design might come along with the same problems and danger. The industry continues to develop even more challenging projects. Moreover, today BP, Shell, Chevron and Exxon are drilling deeper and deeper. The corporations are pursuing complex deepwater projects off the coastal of Australia, Brazil and West Africa. There is something else that raises concerns of experts and public. Oil prices from year to year remain significantly low. That puts unprecedented pressure on corporations. In 2015, BP, Shell and other top oil companies suffered with dramatic fall in profit and market value. Last year, BP showed a record loss of $6.5 billion, which is the worst in its history. In response, the company announced cut of thousands of jobs and continued to significantly reduce the cost and capital expenditures. This practice is common for the whole industry and that worries experts and journalists over the future. By looking back into 2010 at the Deepwater Horizon disaster with a number of money-saving shortcuts, no one anymore can be completely sure that cost-cutting initiatives would not affect safety. The Deepwater Horizon disaster cooled down the production of oil in Gulf of Mexico for a while. However, the appetite of the corporations for oil is back, even despite the drop in oil prices. According to the latest data, the demand for oil expected to be increased by 2013 to 2014 by 10–15%. That means oil companies are going to supply it, hopefully not at any costs.
I learned that the American people, given the facts, are smart and they are pragmatic. We can't drive cars and trucks and planes and buses and ships with wind and solar energy. Not now, not in 10 years, not in 20 years. Our nation, its economy, its jobs, its people, its lifestyle requires 10,000 gallons a second every day. Whether we like it or whether we don't like it, reality is reality. And if we don't keep drilling, where's it coming from?